Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about what it is like to be a solutions architect at Amazon and if you should consider the role. I myself have been a solutions architect engineer at Amazon for 6 months, and before you think I don't have enough experience to talk about this role, I've been at the company Amazon itself for over 4 years and I have used AWS, which is the job that solutions architecture is based on, for over 2 years before that. And I have a few certifications in AWS as well, so I do have a good amount of experience, and I've also weighed out the pros and the cons of joining Amazon teams as a solutions architect myself in the past. So I'm going to talk to you about my experience and help you decide, hopefully, if you should or shouldn't pursue that role. I am not a solutions architect anymore, but I will still tell you what an amazing opportunity it can provide to you and even to me as someone who didn't even like it. So hopefully you stick around and find out what it is. Alright guys, so the first thing I can say about solutions architecture job is kind of the overall what it is. Let me define it to you in my own way. The solutions architect is a person who has usually an engineering background and can work with sales teams in order to help a third-party external customer that uses AWS either adopt more AWS services, solve their problems on AWS. In a nutshell, that is the job. So if you don't like any part of this, then you might want to look a little bit more into what a solutions architecture role is, and I'll tell you about that to decide if you want to pursue the role. In my experience, I knew all about this going into it, but I still, for some reason, did not understand. So that said, let's see what a day in the life of a solutions architect looks like. Usually, because you're helping third-party customers, there are meetings with these third-party customers. So your meetings normally could be an internal call, right? Like for example, if you're an engineer somewhere and or you're working in any position right now in a professional capacity, you're going to have meetings with your manager, you're going to have meetings with your team, right? You're going to have meetings with your extended team. It could be, once a week, multiple times a week. A certain amount of your work hours are dedicated towards meetings, right? When you're a solutions architect, about maybe half of the times, like you're meeting internally with your teams, and then half of the time you're taking third-party client calls. So the people you're getting on a call with are people who are not working at Amazon, startup founders or enterprise like engineers or VPs and things like that. That's your day-to-day. You do get a lot of those calls with people who do not work outside of Amazon. If you're a people's person, you can see this is a great opportunity, but with that also comes the responsibility of one, kind of keeping the right demeanor that AWS wants to show to its clients. You obviously have to be cordial and all of those good things, but to me, in my opinion, also just being the demographic that I am, like being a woman, for example, or people might look at you differently. Just personally, I do not enjoy getting on third-party calls because our internal team calls, it's fine. Whether it's criticism or positive things, it's fine. Like I could take it, like these are my teammates. I wanted to be in that team. If I don't want to be on that team, I can start the process to like switch to a different team at Amazon. And I have never like left the team because I didn't really like the team, but you see, like internal teams at Amazon, they're already people selected through an interview process to get here, and they're good people. They're usually amazing at what they do. They're very knowledgeable, they're very kind, they're very helpful. Like these are the people that I work with. So now all of a sudden getting on calls with people who don't have like that culture. I mean, I don't expect a client to like help me with something, but I do expect them to respect me or to expect me to do the job, really. So not having that expectation from clients who don't know me means that I either not work with them or be okay with proving myself that I could work with them. But maybe I'm not so interested in proving myself to every client that I get on a call with. So it's just not something that I prefer to spend my energy on as much. So I personally didn't like it, but again, if this is you do get a lot of calls with external parties. Along with this, and I've kind of already touched on this topic, you are in a sales organization. So just keep that in mind and see if you like working with sales. If you love working with sales, it's such an amazing opportunity to touch on a good amount of engineering and AWS architecture, but also work with sales. So I just want to make sure that part is clear. You are offering the customer hey, you can use this AWS product. And I mean, we don't suggest an AWS product that won't do the job. My last point on being a solutions architect, I want you to know, for example, you might think that you need AWS certifications in order to get this job. Usually I've seen that not be a requirement, but definitely a plus when someone is interviewing. So if they have AWS certifications, they tend to get the job because it means they're familiar with the services. However, it is not a requirement. There are a lot of people who do get into the job without the certification. So there isn't really like a cookie cutter answer of like, oh, if you have the certification, you'll get it. But personally, I've gone ahead and gotten 3 certifications while I was at Amazon because I was interested in AWS and that's how much I like it. However, that brings me to another point. Do not assume in what capacity you'll be working with AWS. You're not going to go into the customer's like AWS account hands-on and like change things or code anything for them. So which might be a relief to you, right? Like you don't have to code for a customer or not. I don't know if you want to code for a customer, but if you want to be more hands-on with the customer's account, a solutions architect, what they do is actually kind of at best like the end of the job with, or like the end of the road with the client is suggesting we use these services to achieve this latency requirement or this like scale requirement. And so we write sort of like a work order, and there are engineers that execute that, and those I think are called cloud engineers, I believe, or cloud architects, but there I will include them here. But those are the engineers that actually execute what the customer wants. Obviously, if the customer wants their own engineers to work on this, they could do that, but sometimes they do give that job to AWS as well. So there are engineers to execute that. So if you want to be more hands-on, there are other places to be hands-on. It's not really hands-on on AWS, whether it's, you know, through SDK or through like the AWS console. So I want you to know that a solutions architect is more salesy and more conversations and talking and kind of giving the customer like an overview of like what might help them than it is hands-on. And I like being hands-on, so again, I did not like the role for that reason, but you might. And so that brings me to my last point, which is the huge benefit of being a solutions architect or knowing AWS, even if you don't like being a solutions architect. This is what I promised you at the beginning of the video, and the benefit is, the huge benefit of ever working as a solutions architect or getting your AWS certifications is AWS has a massive customer base. Just go to their website and look at the success stories pages of companies they work with. They work with governments, they work with large enterprises, huge companies such as Netflix, which is the obvious example that they like to put out a lot as well. They work with smaller companies, they work with startups. The amount of coffee shops where their online menu, I like click on some link that they have on a table, then takes me to S3, is staggering. It's so funny. I've seen it in Europe, I've seen the US. And they're also global. So what this provides to me and to you as an opportunity is on a consultancy basis. I can start my own company as a consultant, and I have seen this online. People who are doing consulting, AWS consulting, because they have years of experience working at Amazon as in any capacity with AWS, or because they have the certification and they've helped companies with their AWS needs. As more and more people adapt AWS as their cloud provider, which means they're using their security, networking, storage, database, and lots of different services, there is going to be more need for solutions architect or anybody working with AWS really to solve their day-to-day problems, to help them scale, and so many other areas, you know, improve their security, do different kinds of things. So I think it provides a huge opportunity in the consultancy basis. So the job is also just not limited to working at Amazon, because you can go to Netflix and work in some capacity with AWS because they're using AWS. You can go to other companies, I think are, you know, could be like, I think Snapchat or Siemens, or just different companies you could go and work for because they need people who know AWS. It could be as a developer, it could be as a DevOps engineer, it could be as a solutions architect, it could be as a customer success engineer, different roles. So I think there's a huge, massive opportunity, and I do like AWS as a service. Honestly, I think it's a great tool. So many startups, including Uber and Airbnb, have used AWS to take off immediately because they don't have that like time to set up their own data centers or worry too much about their own security setting up. Could be VPCs or could be their ports to talk to, like all the things. So using that AWS infrastructure has helped those companies. So it could also help you in that capacity if you want to start your own startup, for example. So I think it pays to know a bit about AWS in any capacity and to work with it in any capacity. So even if I did not like being a solutions architect at AWS, I still look forward to using it in other ways, whether it's consulting friends who have companies, whether it's consulting clients, or just working with it in like a development capacity. I think it's a really cool opportunity. I hope you like this video.